Well, every pony, here it is. I am about to embark on a journey that will undoubtedly make me cry like a foal. Yes, that's right. As promised, I am about to read My Little Dashie, one of the very few human fix, one of the very few fixed with the human tag that I will ever consider reading. I'm only reading this because, well, one, it was requested of me, and two, because I heard a reading that a much better pony than Mike the Microphone did on this very story. And then some other pony, I forgot to mention, who did a not so good job, but also did the sequels, the approved sequels, which is My Pony, My Little Dashie, a sequel, then a threequel, both of which are approved by all prior. The second, the My Little Dashie, a sequel, has been approved by Rob Cachren 53, and the threequel has been approved by both Rob Cachren and the writer of the sequel. So, yeah, all three are official. So I guess I'll read this one first, and if any pony requests of me that I read the second and third, then why not? Although I refuse to read anything beyond that is not official, because I've heard a reading on the fourth time's a charm, and it just made me cry all over again. It gave closure, but the closure was the death of all characters involved via meteorite. No, I'm playing on that last part. But it was still very sad. So I don't even have to thick up. I am so apprehensive about this one because, unlike because it may shock you to know that the night party pony, myself, nightlife, does not like crying. In some ways, I do kind of enjoy it. It's refreshing after laughing and having a good time all day. It's refreshing, as is a cold shower. But as we all know, having a cold shower every day can really screw you up, or is not pleasant. So, I was hoping I wouldn't have to read a sad fic so soon after One More Thing. An amazing fic. You should go listen to my reading of it, or better yet, go read it yourself. Lazy fucks. No, I'm playing. I'm playing. You know I love all of you, even the ones of you that don't like me, which I have yet to come across, because every pony loves me for some reason. Let's get this over with. Holy surely. It's 12,500 words, and it's 11:30. Well, 11:21 actually. It's a good thing I have two extra large cans of Monster. Well, two and a quarter, or one and a quarter. So yeah, I don't even have the story up. I'm so apprehensive. But let's get going, shall we? My Little Dashie by Rob Cachren, rated sad and human. Oh, one sec, my browser is frozen. Okay, here we go. When your life is as dull and gray as the world that surrounds you, the mundanities can make it all seem meaningless. Sometimes all we need is a little color, or six, to reintroduce us to what makes life truly worth living, or to what truly makes life worth living. I'm going to say right now, I very severely doubt that I can do right by this story. I really do doubt that. I don't think I can do this story justice, but by Luna I will try. So, without further ado, and I've been babbling on for, 5 minutes now? Let us get to My Little Dashie. Oh, it's based on a comic. by opposite bros at deviantart.com. For additional writing, blah 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 blah, Rob Cochran, blah 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 blah, Google Docs link, which will be in the description. I again, I've heard this read by two ponies now. Mike the Mike did a wonderful job. Kudos to him. This is me clopping with my little booties on. Or clopping my hooves together, sorry. Not. You know what I meant. So, I will try with every fiber of my being to do this story justice. Let us begin. I live my life one day at a time. A good portion of those days are uneventful, always falling in the same routine. I wake up, walk to work, walk home, and then bum around until I go to bed. Sometimes I'll hang with my few friends, while other times I'll just play video games or watch My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Every so often, something new and interesting happens. I meet an old friend, find a doll on the ground, or get chased by a stray dog. Living in a dying city isn't very fun or interesting. The city was once full of life and color, but now most of the houses are sagging. The businesses sit empty and abandoned, and several open fields lay barren of the once great factories that once helped drive the economy. I had never seen the city during those times in person, but I have seen pictures. My mother and father lived happy, and they could only wish the same for me growing up. Sadly, I cannot say I have achieved that wish of theirs. I've fallen into the same dull routine. Wake, work, sleep, repeat. I do have some moments of bliss, but the daily struggles I go through outweigh the small moments of joy in my life. My Little Pony has helped, but it's still just another thing to give my hopes up on. Every time I see the show, or one of the ponies on a fan site, I recoil a bit at the bright colors, the joyful faces of the ponies, and the peaceful scenery of their world. It's so hard to look at that beautiful world, having it so close to my grasp. I reach out and touch the warm colors and bright, smiling faces of the ponies, only to be stopped by my computer screen. I snap back to reality. It gets to the point where I will simply shut down my computer and walk away. I do that a lot, especially after my parents' death. I go for a walk. When I feel sad, I walk. When I feel tired, I walk. When I feel like walking, I walk. Walking has become my second life in a sense. I spend at least half my day outside along the crumbling sidewalks and decaying suburbs. I've seen people come and go. I've seen buildings torn down, burned up, or have so much graffiti on its walls that its original color is unrecognizable. I very, very rarely pass other people on my strolls. Most people don't like to look at their once beautiful city, their homes, or former businesses. I don't blame them. In fact, I envy them. They saw this place with their own two eyes, seeing the buildings still standing tall and proud, the lawns freshly cut, the paved roads and sidewalks still intact. The only thing I've ever seen that ever comes close is my mother's paintings, each of them colorful scenes of this concrete world. She started painting once everything crumbled beneath her feet, marking the sad scenery making the sad scenery before her look beautiful. Her masterpiece is an open field that yielded a parking garage. Over it, she drew an amazing rainbow. My favorite picture. I guess that is part of why I like Rainbow Dash the most out of all the other ponies. Her colors, the amazing sonic rain boom, all remind me of that picture. There have been times that I wished I had my own Rainbow Dash, or more realistically, a plushie of her, to curl up in bed with. I know I've made an old Simba an old Simba into a temporary replacement until I'm able to save enough money for one. It helps in a way, like holding it close will heal my wounds, my pain, my sorrow. My feet, after countless hours of walking in my old shoes, pulsate under the sheet, and all the while I'll hold the stuffed animal harder than than a mother protecting her child. It's the only thing I can look at and feel true joy, even if it physically isn't the Rainbow Dash I want. It will have to do. Today, as usual, I walked to work. I It was the same shit, just a different day. SSDD. Watching the same people enter the store, grab their merchandise and pay, then walk with bags in tow. I'm sorry, frog in my throat. This will happen often, I can tell you. My shift ended after several hours of this. I clocked out and started to walk home. I decided to use a different route this time, for a change of pace. I noticed something different from the normal path I walk. This part of town was hit the worst. Only a few houses still stand, and none of them occupied. It's a truly sad sight to see. Then again, it's really the only sight to see. The only sight I'll ever see. Or so I thought. I was stopped by something unusual. A stray cardboard box in the middle of the sidewalk. Now, living in this kind of city, in this kind of area, I see trash all the time. Boxes, McDonald's cups, and plastic bags litter the streets and empty fields. I'm sorry, it's already getting to me. I'm sorry. But rarely will I see a cardboard box that isn't crushed in one way or another. I noticed this particular box because it happened to be in my way. During my younger years, I tried to do what I could for the community. I'd pick up trash when I saw it, or I'd attempt to help my neighbors. It was a losing battle. Nowadays, I've given up any hope of cleaning this city, much less my neighborhood. Now I'll just pass the trash, since most of them I don't care about, or since most of them don't care about anyone but. Oh, sorry. Now, I'll just pass by trash, letting it blow away in the breeze, or sit there and decompose. I let what's left of the people to their own things, since most of them didn't care about anyone but other than themselves. Why should I be any different? Do better. I walked past the box, barely giving it a glance. Nothing about it caught my attention right away. I continued on. My home not far away now. Upon arrival, I sat down and played some games, attempting to push the box out of my mind. I had little luck, as the box somehow managed to push its way back in. Time crept on by, and I soon found myself wanting to go for another walk. I left the house and started down my usual route when I stopped. What was it about that box that made it stick out in my mind? I turned around and started down the path I had taken to get home. The path I only walk once in a blue moon. Curiosity got the best of me, and I wanted some closure. Within minutes, I found it, still sitting there, sad and alone, among the broken concrete and overgrown grass. It didn't move. It didn't stand out as if it were special. It was an ordinary brown cardboard box. I didn't want to say I came out here for nothing, so I walked closer to it. As I drew closer, however, I began to notice something inside. It was brightly colored, multiple colors in fact, and quite small, maybe the size of a few-month-old Labrador puppy. Aw, I've had a few of those. A lot of them, actually. Most of them died of fleas. We were very poor. I miss them all. I stopped beside the box and looked down at the colorful blob inside. This is where I currently stand, looking into a box at a small something. No, I know exactly what it is, but my brain isn't allowing me to fully realize it just yet. At first, I want to say it's simply a toy, left to die along with all the other things in this block. But then I saw it breathing. In fact, it appears to be sleeping. My hands are sweating, my breathing erratic, and I'm blinking my eyes trying to refresh my vision. Each time the image stays the same. Inside, is a sleeping filly rainbow dash. I kneel down, trying to get a closer look into the box. I can't believe what I'm seeing. Not There is not a physical, mental, or extraterrestrial way this could be here. How she could be here, in my gloomy, dark, and horrid world. I examine the box further. On the side is in simple pen says, "Give to good home." I wonder why that's there. The first thought that runs through my mind, beside the initial Philly Rainbow Dash in a box, is, who would give up a Philly Rainbow Dash? My mind is now a mess of questions. How did she get here? Why is she here? Why is she a filly? Her flank is even barren of her cutie mark, meaning that she is indeed a filly. I stand to stretch my tired legs. I accidentally bump the side of the box with my foot. The inevitable occur, and the inevitable. I can't believe I'm messing up this wonderful, wonderful story. Shame. And the inevitable occurs. She wakes up. She looks around, rubbing her face with a foreleg, trying to wake herself up. At first, all she sees are the brown walls of the box. But then she looks up to me. Those large black eyes, along with the rose-colored rims around them, drive my heart to, as the meme goes, explode. Twice. I remember what started that meme. Feeling pinky keen. One of my best episodes ever. The sheer cuteness of it all drives me to kneel back down, and I can't hold back a smile. I haven't smiled like this in years. Since the last time me and my parents went out to the only remaining park in the area. Her eyes continue to stare at me, and I stare back. I don't know what to say or what to do, but I must start somewhere. Hi there. I speak, but she doesn't respond. What are you doing out here? She looks around, then back to me. The more I study her, the more I realize she is really young. Years younger than her appearance than her filly appearance in episode 23. She might not even be able to talk yet. That is, if she can even talk in my world. The fact that she is even existing right now has me reeling in confusion. I return my attention back to her, even notice a small shiver in her notice a small shiver of her body. The fall season is here, and it can get pretty cold, especially around mid-September. I can't remember what happened in September. Okay, that's a good song, but not for this. Not a good time. I'm not sure how to exactly tackle this situation. Do I take her home? Do I call someone? Who would I even call? Ghostbusters. No. That would zap her. Don't cross the streams. Pee jokes. I am a closet brony, so none of my friends know about my love for the show. I can't take her to a shelter. That's a stupid thought in the first place. Not only would it be a horrible sight, she might be taken off to some lab and experimented on, or just something just as equally horrible. I have only one choice. She shakes once more as the cool air reaches her coat. Her wings ruffle as she lay back down and huddles her legs closer to her body to keep warm. That's the final straw. I can't take it anymore. I take off my own jacket and reach down to pick her up. I get the initial response I expected. Fear. She begins to squirm around, unsure what I'm doing to her. She can't fly yet, but she still flutters her wings as in praying for a miracle to happen that she does magically take flight. I set her into my jacket, wrap her up so that her head is sticking out, and hold her in my arm. She continues to squirm, but then my body heat begins to finally seep through the thin jacket and she settles down. It's alright. Let me get you somewhere warmer, huh? I smiled again at her. She continues to look at me with as much confusion in her eyes as she tries with much confusion in her eyes as she tries to process what is happening. Don't worry, I'm not gonna hurt you. It's getting late, and you'll freeze out here. I think she understands me, for after I say those words, her eyes return to their normal size, and she snuggles herself more comfortably inside my jacket. She squirms a little, trying to get into a more comfortable position. I try. I can feel her hooves and wings against poking me as she shifts. Then, to top it off, she rests her chin onto my arm and lets out a deep sigh, closing her eyes to drift off to sleep. My heart explodes for a third time. The entire walk back, I keep an eye out for people who could pass by, who could pass by me. I don't want anyone else to see her. I have no way of knowing how they would react. As usual, though, I don't see a single person. It's midnight by the time I get home. Fortunately for both of us, I had turned my porch light on. Otherwise, I might have passed it. Being being one of the few occupied homes on the block meant a lot of darkness. The city even stopped running power to the streetlights, so that made it all the more difficult. I glanced down at the filly, who continued to sleep in the jacket as I carried her. She was no longer shivering, and felt quite warm. Aww. I walked up to my porch, careful not to make too much noise as I get my keys out, unlocked the two deadbolts, the master lock, and finally the doorknob, and opened my door. It is dark inside due to me leaving while it was still light out. With the flick of a switch, the single bulb in the hallway comes to life, shedding some light into the living room. Most of the furnishings are my parents'. Then again, so is the house. I became the owner of it after their passing, and I have done what I can to keep it that way. Still, with the filly rainbow dash in my arms, I walk into the living room. As I pass my family portrait, I greet it with, "Hello, Mom. Hello, Dad." I know they aren't there, but knowing that they love me and that I love them helps me to stay sane and keep me going in my miserable life. As I enter the living room, I can feel stirring in my arm. She has woken up, most likely when I turn the lights on, and is now growing antsy. With no idea what to do or how to tackle the situation, I set her down on the couch. Immediately, she jumps out of the jacket and looks around, already investigating her surroundings as I continue to watch her as she explores the couch, then continues to the coffee table. "What are you doing here in my world?" I didn't mean to ask that out loud, but it just sort of happens every now and then. Only seeing my few friends once in a great while, I find myself talking to, well, myself a lot. I don't want a pet, because that just means more money to dish out, and I'm already struggling as it is. For my question, the only response is another blank look on her face. That tells me she has no clue either. Then again, what else should I expect from a filly that can't even talk yet? "Are you lost?" The moment the words left my mouth, her ears fall, and she looks to the ground. Oh. The realization strikes that she has no clue what's going on, where she is, who I am, or anything else. She's beyond the word lost. She is misplaced. Well, until something happens, I guess you can stay with me. I see how she lifts her head up, her ears starting to erect once again, and looks at me with worry. My words don't sound that encouraging, so I throw on a smile as I speak. "Don't worry. I'm sure whatever will brought you here will fix itself within time. We just gotta wait. Is that alright?" I'm not sure why I asked, but it seemed to do the trick. Her ears perk right up and she smiles. The next few hours are spent giving her the grand tour of my house. Nothing amazing to see, and I avoid taking her into my bedroom out of fear that the large amount of dirty clothes would swallow her up. Afterwards, I give her something to eat. I break up some small carrots, and amazingly, I discover she has some teeth. Since she is still a filly, I wasn't sure if she could eat solid food such as carrots yet. Then again, she is from a cartoon, so I don't know what is correct for her anyway. Satisfied with the food, she finds a comfy spot on my father's recliner and sits. I don't mind. It's not like I sit in it. I was never allowed when he was alive. So why should that change even after his passing? It's his chair. But I'm never gonna be mean to the filly for not knowing that. So I let her sit where she is most comfortable. I also give her a small blanket to wrap herself in. Due to my house's current temperature, it's not as cold as it is outside, but my furnace has had problems since before my parents' passing. There was a trick to fixing it, but that died along with my father. I must have fallen asleep at some point. I honestly expected myself to be wide awake due to such an interesting event. But after long hours at work and staying up to take care of Dash, my body had other plans. I'm not sure how long I was out before I awoke, but it doesn't matter. As I close my eyes, I feel something against my side. I look up, and she's sleeping beside me in the small sleeping beside me is the small cyan filly. Her rainbow mane and tail still, rainbow mane and tail still, her head resting on the inside of my elbow. Aww. We used to have a dog named Ruby Ann that would do that. She was the best little dog in the world. I know what it's like to have something like that taken. I know the meme gets old, but I must say it. My heart exploded again. Laying there, sleeping and curled up beside me, had me smiling ear to ear. Her gentle breaths are barely heard. The hairs on her mane tickle my arm, but I hold back any movement to itch. The warmth of her body against my stomach, warms my already weak heart. Though a few months isn't a long time, it's a long I've waited for a moment like this. My own little pony, and a Rainbow Dash plushie to stay with me and hold tight. And now I have a real Rainbow Dash, a filly, sleeping at my side, content as though she's known me since birth. Right now, there's nothing else that matters to me. My despair, my sore feet, and my painful heart all go unnoticed, as nothing else could come remotely close to the feeling I have right now. This joy I'm experiencing at this moment, as I lay awake on my couch. She is here. She is real. Right now, she is my little pony. She is my little Dashie. This is so beautiful. We're at a little page fix, so I guess I can say something. I'm already close to crying, y'all. It's full props to the author. He really knows how to tug at those heartstrings. Back to the story. It has only been 4 months since I brought the young Rainbow Dash into my house. I've done what little research I could on the matter, but I have come to no conclusions. I have no idea why she is here, and quite frankly, I don't even care anymore. These few months with her have been the most amazing time of my life. She has opened my heart up to love and joy, among other things. Right now, she sits next to me on the couch as I watch television. She seems to enjoy the morning cartoons on local stations, and I myself have come to enjoy them. She acts much like a young child would. Then again, why wouldn't she? Another amazing feat is that she's beginning to learn to talk. I'm not much of a teacher, or for that matter a parent, but I am doing my best to help her learn to speak and read. I don't know how, or even where to begin to attempt in teaching her to write. From the show, they did it with their mouths, but I will let that go for now. Once she is a little older, if I even have her for that long, I will do what I can to teach her. Another page break. It used to be that a year would go by slowly. I would look forward to the new year in hopes of getting a fresh start. Now, though, it feels as if this year has went by a little too quickly for me. I've decided, since I have no knowledge of her actual birth date, to make the day I found her her birthday, September 17th. Oddly enough, the very same date as the second season of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic aired last year. I quit watching the show after Dasher came into my life. There was no reason for me to continue, and honestly, I don't have much time to myself anymore. If it would be hard to hide me watching the show, and even harder to explain the situation if she were ever to see it, especially at her current age. She knew her name was Rainbow Dash, but I've I have come to calling her Pinky's pet name of Dashie. She has no problem with it. I have issues with the word problem. I can't say it right. I'm so sorry. She can fully communicate with me now, as well as read English. She's even starting to learn how to write with, you guessed it, her mouth. I tried to invent some devices for her hoof so she could write, but it seems that with her mouth it's more natural to her than moving her hoof around. One thing now troubles me with her. Every day she sits at a window, looking outside. I'm not worried about her being seen by passerbys. I'm on a dead-end street, so that's at least out of my worries. Still, though, she doesn't say anything to me yet. I can see the hunger for fresh air in her eyes. I can't keep her in here her entire life. Ha! I keep talking like she's going to be here forever. That isn't true. One day, someday, she will return home. Whether it'll be a simple poof and she's gone, or through some magical spell and Twilight shows up and takes her home to fix everything. In my heart, I hope it never happens. In my head, I know it will. It's just a matter of when. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's a freaking froggy bottom bog in my throat now. So much beauty. I do hope to get her outside soon. I've been checking out some of the abandoned lots and former parks on my walks to and from work, seeing where the best locations would be to take her. Oddly enough, it seemed the park I had played at growing up is the best option. That shall be it then. I shall take her to the park. How I will get her there? How will I get her there? She's still relatively small, so she can be hidden inside a jacket or something. Tomorrow is supposed to be a nice day anyway. She did it. After 2 years in my care and having absolutely no knowledge of flight myself, I helped her learn to fly. She's gotten quite big in only a couple of years, and it was getting hard to hide her while we walked to the park. I got so desperate to keep her hidden, I bought a dog costume for her to put on, so she could walk there unnoticed. She was not happy, so I got some books from the library and read up on teaching birds to fly. I would have looked on the internet, but I fear she would become curious of it herself. There are a lot of horrors on the internet, and she's not ready for it. Don't we all know that? Yeah. In hindsight, it's bad enough she's experiencing television, but she has come to enjoy SpongeBob and NASCAR too much for me to take that away from her. Back to the flying. I've been taking her to the old park for weeks, in hopes I could get her to learn how to fly. There is a large tree, with branches sticking out over a sandbox. The perfect spot for her to practice. If she falls and I can't catch her, at least she'll have something remotely soft to land on. She fell a lot. I knew she would fall a lot. There were many scrapes, cuts, and bruises towards her goal. But finally, after many weeks of work, she flew. It was only a short distance, about 50 feet, but she did it. She's a little scraped up, but she's beaming with pride. Maybe now she could fly overhead, so that the few people on the ground don't notice her. I'll have to see if she can hide on a cloud as we go to. I have to see if she can manipulate clouds like she could in the show. It would make it much easier to take her places. Think she could hide on a cloud as we go to the park. Another thing that has been brought to my attention. She asked me about having her own room. I got to thinking, and I realized that the house does have a spare room, though my parents had filled it with my old school stuff from my younger years, as well as several of my old toys. She might enjoy them, though she's getting older, and though she's getting older, I'm not sure how entertaining they will be for her. If she has her own room, I can get her own things, so she can feel somewhat normal. She's pretty smart for a filly, and knows about the difference between our species, but she still knows nothing about her origin. She is not ready. She's not ready yet. The only thing I can do is keep her happy. I only wish I had a way to buy her the things she wants. Another page break, so I'm gonna do a little bit of talking now. Just so beautiful. I'm gonna take a little break to get something to drink. I'm sorry that I've been mumbling. I'm very sorry for the. Just I don't think I've been doing this story justice so far, so I'll try harder. Okay. Let's continue. If you told me 4 years ago that I'd be taking care of a cartoon rainbow-colored pony, I'd call you insane. I probably am in all reality, but I don't care. I'm happy. She's happy. Today is a day for celebration. For today, my little Dashie got her cutie mark. I honestly didn't know how to tackle that fact. She didn't even know what it was until I explained it to her. Now she's even more ecstatic than before. It was it was it, I'm sorry. It was a normal park outing, but this time she decided to see how high she could get. I had to limit her to how high she could fly. Or I had limited her to how high she could fly. But honestly, I can't do anything about what she does up there. I can't fly, so the most I could do is tell her to be careful. Somewhere she got in her head to see just how fast she could fly. Probably due to her being probably due to her being a NASCAR and all. Well, but NASCAR and well, a general racing fan. For some time she was trying to make up tricks and stunts of her own, giving them names. I just sit on a bench I had fixed up and cheer her on. No one was ever around anymore. In fact, on that block, I think I was the last person left. I think the last person left over a year ago. There are rumors the entire area is going to be bought by some company, however, and all this turned into a large manufacturing area. I don't know how I feel about that, but it's not important. It's not important right now. Right now, I'm so overcome with joy that my Dashie knows her place. Granted, this isn't her world, but she is still the same Rainbow Dash from the show. Regardless of how I raised her, she has that same spunk and attitude from the show, and now she has her cutie mark. Anyway, she climbed to quite a great height in an attempt to gain speed from a fall. Well, all the right things factored for her: how she positioned herself, her mental focus, and possibly me on the ground watching and cheering her on. But she did it. She broke the sound barrier and created a sonic rain boom overhead. Now, I didn't even imagine it possible. I didn't even imagine it was possible to accomplish such a feat in my world. I knew you could break the sound barrier, but actually do the rainbow part too? My mind is blown. So, the initial explosion brought upon many broken windows and set off car alarms in the next county. I quickly rounded her up and we rushed home before any pony could arrive at the park. Or anyone, sorry, this isn't any pony. I was lucky none of my windows were broken. The rest of the day was spent celebrating just how happy it just so happened that today was her 4th birthday. I have no way of knowing how old she actually was when I got her, so I just started over. I would have bought her a cake, but due to the boom, but due to the boom and all the business, but due to the boom and all, the businesses were closed and needed new windows. So we made our own. So we made a cake on our own. Apparently, the fan fiction writers got it right. She can't bake at all. Granted, I'm not the best myself, but it was still a mess. But we had fun. She enjoyed herself. She is happy. Therefore, I am happy. Though it, the though that was her highlight of the day, mine was just a few moments ago. She was she has now come accustomed to sleeping in her own room, versus with me on the couch. I actually stopped sleeping in my room, and kept her company in the living room until recently. Now I can sleep in my own bed once more. But I keep my door unlocked, so if she ever needs me, she can get me. I just had to. I had just tucked her in to bed, and told her good night when she said it. Good night, Daddy. I love you. I haven't been on the internet in what, 3 years now, so I don't. One second. I am very, very sorry, everybody. My cat was scratching at the door. I think he needs to go pee. 1 second. I am very sorry for that horrible interruption. So let's go. I haven't been on the internet in what, 3 years now? I don't know if the My Little Pony thing online is. I don't know how the My Little Pony thing online is doing, or what memes are still alive or not. But damn it all, I'm gonna say it because it's true. My heart exploded twice. For the first time, not only did she call me Daddy, which she had done on occasion, but she even said, "I love you." For a moment, I didn't really know what to say or do. What to do. I've never been in this sort of situation before, but I remember what my mother and father used to do. So I leaned down and kissed her on the forehead and told her the same thing. Good night, my little Dashie. I love you. She smiled at me, then closed her eyes. I walked out, turned off her light, making sure her SpongeBob nightlight was on, of course, closed her door, and then sat down on the couch. I haven't moved for an hour now. I'm still lost in thought. The few times she had called me Daddy, I didn't think anything of it. I could picture why she would call me that. Being with her was so much made me accept it as part of taking care of her. But tonight, when she said those 3 words, the realization finally sunk into my heart. I am her daddy. She considers me her daddy, and quite frankly, I consider her my daughter. Even though we are totally different species, I still love her with all my heart. And it has taken her to speak those words for me to finally realize it. I think I've finally done it. I have broken my hard shell that I had formed when my parents died. I have let a sweet little feeling into my life. I gave her a home to live in, food to eat, and now a daddy to love. She has given me hope, love, compassion, and now something I've never thought I'd have, and now something I never thought I'd utter. A daughter. I still speculate when the time is going to arise when she goes back to Equestria. Each day it gets harder for me to imagine when that actually comes. I just hope that she never forgets me, because I will never forget her. I believe Dash is now at her full size, running in at about 3 feet tall. She is fully grown, though she is still only 10 years old. According to my math, I believe she's actually more along the lines of 14 or 15, possibly in 14 or 15, possibly in actual years. So we celebrated 5 missed birthdays and officially moving day. That's right, moving day. We moved from my parents' house thanks to me finally saving up enough money, plus getting lucky at a casino. Oh, that never happens to me. But because I never gamble. Call me a prude all you want. I don't gamble. We bought a nice house 100 miles away from the city. It's got lots of open land. There isn't another house within 5 miles. it's just me and her. Now she can fly around all she wants, whenever she wants. She is truly happy, though she does miss the old park. It's gone now, along with everything else left in that area. A large business bought up all the land, flattened it, and built a large factory there. It was an amazing boom to the economy, and people were starting to build homes again. I'm sorry, my nose is already clogging up from all this. I know it's coming. I just know it. I'm glad, but it it just wasn't for us. That amount of people would hinder her going outside, and I'm not going to force her to stay inside all day unless it's raining out. I'm sorry. One more time, my cat. Okay, I'm back. I've gotten a new job, one that pays much more than my old one. Dashie even talked about getting a job, but then she remembered what I told her. The look on her face was heartbreaking. We were enjoying a cake we made, which I must add we have improved. Which I must add we have improved upon that skill. When she brought it up, I jokingly said she can't due to her being a pony, and I laughed. She remained silent. My God, I'm horrible. I just laughed because my daughter is different. I apologized for hours. Even though she says she understands, I know she is still hurt. Luckily, I have a way to fix this. Due to the sheer size of property, it involves a lot of cutting of grass. Tomorrow, I will modify a lawnmower for her to use, so that she can still have a job. I'll even pay her so that she can buy her own stuff if she wants. Though I'll have to go get it for her, she can still actually say she works for something. According to the show, she was a weather pony. I'm sorry. And I don't have her mess with Mother Nature unless it's a dire emergency. So there isn't really any jobs to be had there. Yeah, and don't fuck with Mother Nature on Earth. She's kind of a wild one here. Oh, Celestia, 1 second. I still can't believe I've had her for 10 years now. My God, time goes so fast. I wish it would slow down so I could have more time with her. I don't know when, but I have a sudden feeling that our time together is running out. All of this has been too good to be true. Page break. Here it comes. Today has to have been the worst day of my life, even more than when my parents died. Due to events I could not prepare for, Dashie found out the truth before I could tell her myself. She knows what she is, a made-up cartoon character for a kids' television show. She is mad. No, upset beyond all thought. She had locked herself in her room, but I know my daughter. She didn't stay in there long. So she opened the window, her window, and flew off, probably into a tree to sulk in her sorrow. I'm a monster. I should have told her sooner. I just wasn't sure when would be the right time. Now we're both suffering from my carelessness. I thought getting cable would be a good thing, give her some more shows to watch. But what I didn't realize was that we got the hub station. I wasn't even aware it was still up, and find my surprise when the show My Little Pony was still even airing. It had stopped at 8 seasons, but it was still repeated. I remembered I had walked in from work with some groceries, set them into the kitchen, and walked into the living room. That's when I saw it. Yay! She did it! Fluttershy had screamed, jumping in joy as Applejack, Twilight, and Pinkie Pie all sat on the clouds, with dumbfounded looks on their face. I remember that episode. Fluttershy loses it. My heart sank. I knew this episode. I remember. I can't say remember to save my life. I remembered this episode, even after seeing nothing for 12 years. I still remember that damn episode. In that episode, Hernandez performs the Sonic Rain Boom, much like how My Little Dashie had years ago. All the time I was still holding my keys. At the time I was still holding my keys, and I dropped them. They clanged onto the wooden floor. If she didn't know I was home before, she knew now. How long? Dashie asked me, no emotion in her voice. How long have you known about this? Dashie turned to look at me. She had been crying. Her mane was even worse shaped than normal. How long have you known about this? I'm sorry, I'm not doing this any justice at all. I couldn't help it. A tear ran down my cheek as she yelled at me. This was the first time in all these years she had raised her voice to me, and I deserved every bit of it. And so I sat down, turned off the television, and told her everything. I told her about the show, about finding her, and answered any other questions she had for me. There were a lot. Most of them stemmed from the show, to which I simply told her what I truly believed, that though she is very much from the show, she herself is different from the pony in the cartoon. I tried to explain it to her, but her bulkheadedness took over as she continued to lash at me. I took it all. I deserved it all. I've been keeping that horrible secret from her for far too long. She is now a fully grown mare, capable of taking care of herself as if she were in Equestria. Here, I treat her like she was still my little filly. It's been wrong of me, but I couldn't help it. I didn't want this to ever happen, but I knew it would. I should have done what was right, but I didn't. It was only a matter of time before she found out, and she knew she was different. After our argument, she flew upstairs to her bedroom and slammed her door shut. I checked on her an hour later, and no response told me she had flown off. I can only hope that she comes back, or at least, if she doesn't, that she stays away from other people, from any other people. If anything, I hope some sort of portal opens up and she goes back to her world, and never has to think of me again. All I can say to her at this point is, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Page break. It's been 3 days since Dashie left. The night of her departure, I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I went for a walk. I wasn't sure where I was walking, or how long I walked, but that's what I did. I walked. Now, 3 days later, I find myself out here walking once again. I've been out for roughly 3 hours, and though it's only 5 in the afternoon, it has grown dark. A storm is brewing, and soon I will be getting hit by the brunt of it. I turned around and began my walk home, though I don't rush. My energy these past few days has been non-existent, as I have barely eaten anything more than some toast. I feel so lost as I walk through the woods that surround my home. No, our home. It is as much hers as it is mine, and nothing will change that. The rain has begun, but I do not quicken my pace. I just walk, much like I had done so long ago. The distant memories of all my pain and sorrow before Dashie began to seep back into my mind. I haven't had these thoughts in years. The pats of water on tree leaves kept me distracted. It is a peaceful sound, one you would never hear in the city. The rain is picking up, as my shirt is now soaking wet. I'm sure I'll be sick tomorrow morning, but I don't care. I've been sick for 3 days now. A mental illness has been tearing me apart. My daughter is somewhere out here, hurting, needing some comfort and warmth in this rain. I wish I could be there for her, even though she may not want me to. She may not ever want to see me again for how she acted. I don't blame her. It must be such a horrible thing to find out your past like that. I can't imagine what it would be like. I know Dashie is a strong mare. She can pull through, but I also know how she holds a grudge at times. And I'm not sure that, even if she did come back, she would ever forgive me. Or more importantly, if I could ever forgive myself. It's now pouring out here. The tree canopies are barely holding back the torrential rain as I'm hammered by the water droplets. I stop to look around and find my bearings to return home. I'm not lost. Most of this area is easily traverse. It's easy to traverse once you get used to it. It's just I'm also looking for Dashie as I walk. It's the reason why I'm walking in the forest in the first place. I press on, keeping a steady pace through this rain. Suddenly I spy a large, thick oak tree. Its stature sticks out among the rest, and from looking at the barely wet grass beneath, I can tell it has many branches holding back even this hard rain. I need to take a break, so I walk under the tree and sit down. The grass is barely wet, with only a few small droplets making their ways down. This is the kind of tree I imagine Dashie would hide under in this rain. I wish it to be true, but I saw no sign of her as I approached. I close my eyes and lean against the tree hulk as I think about my life, our life, together as father and daughter. We have grown so much as a family and have been so fortunate enough to have very few fights. None of them were as heartbreaking as the one 3 days ago. I feel a tear running down my cheek as I imagine Dashie's face again. The anger in her eyes, mixed with the confusion, just tear me apart. I want so badly to make things right, or go back in time and stop it from happening. But I can't do either. I can't do either of those. What's done is done. I'm so sorry. I speak aloud. I speak out loud, not caring for no one is listening. I'm alone in these woods. Besides the wildlife, in this rain, they're all hiding as well, and the ones that aren't are far from being as such aren't far from being as such as I. But aren't far from a being such as I. I'm just so sorry, Dashie. I continue to cry as I keep my eyes closed and leaned against the tree. The rain continues to pour around me, and occasionally drops hit my head, but I don't care. Crack. I open my eyes from the sudden sound, and to my left, I'm shocked at what I see before me. Looking at me with teary eyes herself, Dashie, my little Dashie, covered in burrs and tree sap along with her mane and tail, is standing a couple of feet from me. She's wet, with both rain and tears. I hadn't known her approach. Then again, being a Pegasus, she was very quiet and light on her hooves. She doesn't speak, and instead walks over to me, not caring what noises she makes under her hooves. I don't move. I just sit on the ground and watch with my own wet eyes. She looks so horrible, yet so beautiful at the same time. Her coat would need a good cleaning, but that was the least of my worries. Without a word, she sits next to me, not making eye contact as she looks off into the woods. I can only look at her, wishing to hug her tightly and never let her go again. But I hold back, knowing it would be too sudden. Finally, she is the first to speak. I heard you. Her voice then got quiet as she whispers, and I'm sorry too. I don't have a Dash voice. I'm so sorry for everybody. If I did, I'm too wrought with emotion to even attempt it. I simply smile through my tears. Her stubborn attitude was showing, as she always had difficulties apologizing. Dashie, you had nothing to be sorry about. It's my fault. Simple as that. Oh my, I'm bleeding. 1 second, everybody. Okay, I'm back. It appears I had cut myself on a little splinter under my little wooden desk I'm currently sitting at. I just hadn't noticed it, but I'm fine now. Now, where was I? Oh yes. It seems my point doesn't get across, as she finally looks at me with a sorrowful face. Dad, do you still love me? Now is the time to act. I reach over and grab her, holding her in a tight hug. Of course, Dashie. I've always loved you. I still love you, no matter what. Not even a small fight such as ours could ever change that. She returns the hug as we sit there and cry together. We continue to apologize, me for the truth, and her for raising her voice and storming out. After some time, the rain subsides while we remain under the tree. Dad? Hmm? Can we go home now? I need a shower bad. I let out a chuckle, and she too laughs as I stand. We make our trip back home. She's smiling again, and I am too. I've been giving it some thought, and I think I shall give her birthday present a little early. A ticket to the Indy 500. Yes, I'm taking her to the Indy 500. She can simply sit on some clouds and watch while I'm in the stands. I didn't even have to get her a ticket, but she needs some sort of reminder of her visit. I'm sure she will have a blast, and though I don't expect this to make anything right, I can only hope it cheers her up some. With some time, I'm sure I'm sure she will relax and settle down about her being in the cartoon. She's a smart mare, and she knows she is real, not that made-up pony from the cartoon. I can only help push her to believe that, and hope she does the same to me. I'm so sorry, every pony. It's midnight. I'm kind of tired, but I will continue and will post this tonight. I promise you this. And from what I'm seeing, it's almost at the end. Yes, but the end is the longest part. So, yeah. So, let's get on with it. There's a point in every parent's life where they have to let their child go, whether it be for the better or for worse. It must happen at some point. 1 second. All right, I'm back. It must happen at some point. I now sit here in my living room by myself, sulking over the photographs of my distant memories of me and Dashie. On her 20th birthday, I had planned a special outing to see a flight show. We were preparing to leave when there was a knocking at the door. Never in the years we have lived there had anyone knocked at the door. Hell, we hadn't even made arrangements if someone did show up. I simply told her to go to her room while I took care of it. Oh, Celestia, I feel sick. Okay. Once I heard her door shut, calmly and collectively, I asked who it was knocking, expecting some stranger possibly lost on his or her travels. A female voice spoke in such an elegant yet attention-grabbing voice that I felt myself listen to her with the uttermost attention. She asked if she may come in, a question I normally refused within a heartbeat, yet something about her voice was reminiscent. I couldn't help but walk over and open the door. When I saw the figure standing on my porch, I wasn't sure if I was dreaming or hallucinating. Standing there was a radiant and majestic Princess Celestia. I was at a loss of words, fighting both emotions of growing excitement, which I had only felt when I first found Dashie, and the emotions of sorrow, for I knew what this meant. She stood there another second looking at me. We matched each other in eye level, her body being the size of a nearly full-grown horse. I stepped back and allowed her to enter. What caught me off guard next was the 5 other ponies that followed suit. First Polly Sparkle, then the rest of the gang. Applejack, Rarity, Fluttershy, and lastly Pinkie Pie bounced in. Oh, this is what an alien house looks like on the inside. Oh, wow, you have a kitchen! I'm starving. Are you starving? I can make us some... Applejack stopped her She was stopped by Applejack's hoof. Easy there, Sugar Cube. We're just here for Rainbow, so we ain't got time for any eating. Applejack's stomach growled. No matter how hungry we are. I still wasn't sure how to completely react to all of this, but not wanting to be rude, I offered some leftovers. We have some leftovers from dinner last night. You're more than welcome to some. Pinkie Pie took that as an okay and ran into the kitchen with some vigor. I'm actually smiling. Pinkie Pie, you know how to make me smile. It's a sad smile, though. It seemed I did not even need to tell her where everything was. She instantly knew where everything was placed. Factor it either to dumb luck or simply being Pinkie Pie. I chose the latter. I'll go keep an eye on her, Applejack said, walking to join the hyper pony. As she passed, she tipped her hat to me. I was finding it odd the ponies were not the ponies were not more hesitant around a creature such as me. Then again, the same could be said for myself. But having dashed for 15 years, I grew used to having such a thing around me. Now I have 5 other ponies and a full-sized goddess horse looking at me with the same amount of curiosity that I held for them. I'm going to take a small drink, okay? 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Where was I? Okay. There was a moment of silence as I watched the 2 mares enter my kitchen and begin to rummage through my fridge. I'm quite surprised, Leslie began. I had expected a little more resistance to us entering. Why? I know who all of you are. Oh, I know who you all are. Celestia nodded. Ah, so you do know then that you are fictional characters from a children's TV show? Then yes. Otherwise, why you are all here, I have no clue. The last part I lied, hoping to keep my mind at ease. I knew the reason, but I wanted to ignore it. Oh, I think you do know. My heart fell into the pits in my stomach. I did know, and she was straight to the point about it. During all these years, I have been anticipating this moment, but as time drug on, that thought slowly dispelled until it was just nothing more than a minor nip in my mind. That's when it always happened, you know, when everything is finally perfect, and you don't want to have to worry anymore. Excuse me, sir, Twilight began, but from what we could figure out, Rainbow Dash should be here, is she? I looked at the purple mare. I wanted to tell her no, but I knew it was fruitless. She's in her room. She's upstairs in her room. In her room? Reddy asked, surprised. Yes, Dashie is in her room. I wasn't sure who was knocking and didn't want her to be spotted. Dashie? You're my... You're that friendly with her, are you? Rarity continued. I wanted to punch that pony so hard right then. How she responded insulted me. Friendly? That's not even the beginning of it. And I should ask you, ponies, what the hell you... And I should be asking you, ponies, what the hell you want? What the hell you did? 1 second. You need to close the window now. There are bugs getting in. I'm back. Alright, where was I? Celestia raised a brow, taken aback by my change of tone. You see, my student, I know who she is, so get to the chase. I was very short with her. As furious as I was, I wanted to know why they'd sent Dashie as a filly to some other world. Twilight bit her lip, and her teacher continued. Yes, of course. Ahem. She was working on a spell to help the weather team with some sort of development. With some storm development. Well, they made slightly too large of a storm, and when Twilight used her magic to try and dispel it, it shot lightning bolts, meeting her magic. Rainbow Dash was unfortunate enough to be within range of the blast, and it engulfed her and sent her to, well, here. So we are here to retrieve her. Simple enough, I imagined. Before I could answer, Dashie called from her bedroom. Dad, is everything alright? That second my heart stopped beating as I looked from pony to pony. Each one's face was in pure shock and confusion. They recognized the voice of Rainbow Dash, but she said, Dad. Uh, excuse me, Sugar Cube. Applejack started, returning from the kitchen. Did I just hear Rainbow call you Dad? Before I could answer it, Celestia started up again. Do you care to explain? I was lost. So many things were running through my head at once. There was only one thing I could do, and I had to do it, but I knew I wouldn't like it. Go into the living room and make yourself comfortable. I'll be right down with her. I didn't allow her response. I turned around and walked up the stairs slowly. Dad? Yeah, Dashie. I'm coming up. I looked back downstairs and to the group of ponies as they watched me ascend. We need to talk. So that's what I did. I told her who was down there, and that they were there to take her back. She had seen the cartoon every so often after some time and found the wacky adventures entertaining. She had given up on any thought of the Rainbow Dash in the show, that the Rainbow Dash in the show was her, and only viewed it as another cartoon. As I talked to her, she explained that those very ponies she didn't believe in were downstairs. She brushed me off with some laughs. She didn't believe me, and thought I was playing some joke on her. So I took her down into the living room. Dashie! Pinky shouted, jumping onto her cyan friend. Dashie was quick to shove the pink pony off her. Hey, get away from me! She was taken aback by the sudden amount of ponies filling our living room. They all looked to her with worried expressions as to why she shoved her closest friend away. Pinky's cotton cane mane went straight as she looked in confusion. You don't recognize me, do you? No, or any of you. Dashie continued. It hurt me in so many ways. I knew these were her friends, but so many things have happened differently that she didn't know the truth fully, and neither did they, so I had to explain it to them. I started. Dashie, take a seat, please, so I can talk to them. She did just that, in her recliner. The entire time she looked at all the ponies who occupied the couches and center rug in front of the fireplace. As time went, it was time, but first I had to start with the question. How long ago was she sent over here? The question caught them off guard, but Twilight cleared her throat as she spoke. About 15 days ago. Why? I was speechless. 15 days ago? Shit, she's been with me for 15 years. That meant a day in their world meant a year here. Well, I continued, it's been a lot more time than that here. How long? Twilight asked. 15 years. All the ponies, besides Celestia, had their mouths agape. That don't explain why she don't know us, Applejack said. Well, that's the thing. When I found her, she was a filly. Come again? From my math, I think she was no older than 4 or 5 years old. Now Celestia looked surprised. You mean to tell us that you have been taking care of Rainbow Dash for 15 years, since she was a small filly? She asked. I simply nodded and looked over to Dashie, who wore an emotionless expression on her face. Well, she is, I started, but I couldn't hold back my tears any longer. I know it's not true. God, I wish it was, but I understand. The dad now makes sense. Celestia cut me off, holding a stern look on her face. She was thinking, trying to piece together in her mind what had possibly happened. I chalked it up to the magic. Being unstable opponent possibly reverted her in age. For a few moments it was quiet, besides the breathing of 7 ponies and myself. Finally, it was Dashie who broke the silence. So, what's supposed to happen now? I looked at the princess, trying to read her face. No matter how good I had gotten at reading Dashie's face, Prince Celestia had the best poker face I'd ever seen. I had no clue what she was thinking or feeling at this moment. Well, it's simple. Twilight? Celestia looked for people, who instantly perked up hearing her name. Do you still remember that memory spell from the Discord incident? I'm so sorry, every pony. My reading gets really sloppy when I get emotional. I knew. Twilight simply nodded, and she stood from the couch. As she stood from the couch and hopped to the floor, onto the floor. I knew what was going on. What Celestia had in mind. She wanted Twilight to either erase her memories and start from anew, or possibly, I hope she just wanted to give Dashie her memories of their friendship in time in Ponyville. I wasn't sure what to do. I felt it was right. I knew it was right and needed to be done. I have been telling myself that for 15 years, and I waited for this moment. As I waited for this moment, but there was something I needed to say before it happened. These ponies were going to take my Dashie away, and I had some words to speak before that could happen. No, wait, please, I started. Twilight stopped and looked at the sun goddess. Just give me a moment with her, please. All I ask, since this is the last time we'll see each other. I had given up holding back my tears, and at this point I was crying openly. The ponies could tell I was hurting, and Dashie didn't look to be faring too well either. So, figuring it wasn't good to prolong the inevitable, I walked over to the chair Dashie sat in, knelt down to her eye level, and as I spoke, Dashie, my little Dashie, I love you with all my heart. You have done wonders to open me up from the man I once was. I paused for a moment to settle down. You have brought me so much joy in my life that I can't possibly ever thank you for. At this point, Dashie had begun to cry. That only made it worse. These 15 years we have had together, talking, playing, flying, all of those have been so special to me. I just want you to know that I will forever love you. It doesn't matter if we aren't biologically related or of different worlds. I don't care I don't care what you may ever think of me, or if you even remember me. Especially, why do I have trouble with that word? But right now, you being my Dashie, I want you. I poked her chest to physically show I was talking to her, to know that fact. If there's ever a problem that happens, if you need me, don't hesitate to find a way to get me, okay? I tried to laugh, passing the last part off as a joke. It worked, only slightly, as we both continued to cry. I could also hear some sniffling from behind me. I could only picture Pinkie Pie crying much like she had at the end of the second episode in Season 1, after Luna and Celestia had been reunited. Do I have to go, Daddy? It had been a few years since she'd actually called me Daddy. Most of the time it was simply Dad or Pops. It felt good, knowing she still cared for me enough to call me Daddy. Much like the first time she had said it to me so many years ago. I simply nodded my head as I stood up. Before I could fully grasp my balance, she jumped up to me and hugged me tight. I could feel her tears on the back of my neck, and I returned the embrace. It's your actual home, Dashie. You don't belong here. You need to go back to where you belong. I belong here with you. It hurt so much to say, but I had to keep her convinced that this was the right thing to do. No, you don't. You are limited here, only able to fly around the house. You have no friends or other ponies to relate to. I was only taking care of you until this time would come, but I never thought it would be this painful. I remembered quite a few more minutes. I remained quiet for a few more minutes as we held each other. She still didn't fight back. She didn't fight back or want to resist what was happening, which told me that she knew all too well what must be done. I love you, Daddy. And I love you too, my little Dashie. I'm sorry, but I need 1 second. Maybe a few more than that. Oh. Oh, I forgot to pause the recording. Oh well, nothing to be done now. We separated, and she lowered herself to the ground. At this point, all the other ponies had tears flowing. Even the goddess herself. We had seen. She had seemed quite smug about knowing what had happened, the time difference and such, but it was evident that the age difference was a shock. She was most likely had expected to find a 35-year-old Rainbow Dash, but instead found my 20-year-old Dashie. Twilight stepped closer to Rainbow Dash, sniffling once before her horn glowed. I knew what was coming. It hurt so much, but I knew it was right. It was what had to happen for her friends, and in a twisted way for me. My sweet Luna, my cheeks are numb. This happens sometimes when I cry. Now I could know she was actually going home, and would be around her friends, and could fly wherever and whenever she wanted to, without any limitations. She could enjoy her friends' company once more. Wait! I looked from the floor to Dashie, as she backed away from Twilight. Before I go, I want to get something. Before any pony or myself could protest, she flew up to her room. She was quick and returned with a shoebox in front of her hooves. I wasn't sure if she would be allowed to take anything back with her, and half expected the princess to protest, but she remained quiet, allowing Dashie to quickly write down something on a piece of paper and set it off on the coffee table. She looked back to me, still crying, but with a small smile on her face. I knew she had realized this was how it must end, and I knew that as well. The box, from my guessing, was probably her most cherished items that she kept for if she had to leave. Though it hurt me thinking about it, I hope she had a picture of us. And again, I almost hope not, for she would be forced to remember me a world away, and that hurt just as much as everything else. I'm so sorry, Rainbow Dash. As Twilight started, I honestly wish there was another way to do this. I wish I didn't have to do this, but Dashie started. Can't they come with me? The stuttering in her voice told me she was simply speaking her mind, not actually asking the question. Twilight shook her head, unable to keep eye contact with her friend as she cried before her. Rainbow Dash, Princess Celestia started. He cannot join you in our world, much like how you cannot stay in his. This was all never meant to be, and the world around us was not meant to house you. And yet, Celestia looked at me, smiling, and began to look around the living room. All the photos of us together, all her knickknacks and belongings strewn around the room. And yet, something beautiful happened here. Something I cannot explain in full. When I realized where you ended up, I expected the worst. I figured you to be ruined, tainted and tarnished by this world's cruelty. But now, I see that it's quite the opposite. That here, this man has raised you, shown me that you were in good hooves, or hands, as it were. Dashie sniffed once, beginning to calm down as Celestia's words sunk in. Celestia returned to looking at me, then smiling. Still smiling, I'm sorry. I cannot speak for you, but from what I see in front of me, the amount of love you both share and have shared together tells me you raised her as if she were your own. Even with the obvious differences, you still raised her unbiased as her species, her origins. You raised her as your daughter, which only makes this entire ordeal so much worse. I absorbed her words, as well as the other ponies in the room. So I must say to you, dear sir, please do not hold my student accountable for this. It was never meant. It was never meant. It was never her or any pony else's intention to cause this much hurt to either of you. I must blame some. If you must blame some pony, I ask you blame me. I'm the one who helped bring them here to take Rainbow Dash back to her home, away from here. I just couldn't look at any of them. My heart, my heavy breathing breaking down with sobs. My mind was just going on. No, my mind was just going on her own. My mind was just going on her own, thinking back to all the things Dashie and I did together. I took a deep breath as I spoke. Just how could I blame some pony for sending Rainbow Dash here? I sniffed, then cleared my throat as I continued. I nearly choked as I searched for the words to express myself. These have been the best 15 years of my life. So, if anything, I feel quite the opposite. I wish to thank you, Twilight, and the rest of you, for what you did. They're not intentional. Thank you for all that came out of this. And finally, thank you for all my years, my life, and my love with Dashie. I tried to smile as Twilight began between. I tried to smile at Twilight between the sobs, and she looked on the edge of tears herself, and I could only look away before she cried herself. Or Anne could only look away before she cried herself. Oh, Luna, my throat is so parched. Celestia then stood from the rug and she laid on, and walked over to me as I stood. No need for thanks, good sir. Instead, I wish to thank you for Please give me a moment. Okay. I can barely see the words, but I'll try my best. No need for thanks, good sir. Instead, I wish to thank you for taking care of one of my little ponies. She would never have made it without someone much like herself. Celestia closed her eyes, then leaned her horn towards me. I didn't move. I wasn't sure what was going on as she touched her horn to my head. I felt a sudden warmth rush through my body. She drew her horn away, still smiling as she stepped back. Thank you. Then another pony spoke up. Thank you, sir. Twilight said. Twilight added, finally able to speak through her tears. Thank you. Applejack added. Thank you, darling, for caring for our Rainbow Dash. Rarity spoke. Thank you. Fluttershy quietly said. Thanks! Pinkie Pie shouted as she sprung up to me and hugged me. I couldn't help but laugh a little from her extrinsic attitude. But better yet, the rumors from the air tent from her internet were true. Her mane did smell like cotton candy. I remained silent as I nodded. Then I looked back to Dashie, who also wore a smile on her face. The ponies all returned to Dashie as Twilight's horn began to glow once more. Are you ready now, Rainbow? Twilight asked again, returning to Dashie and starting her magic. She simply nodded, and she closed her eyes and awaited the inevitable. It seemed time slowed down as Twilight Tone approached Dashie's forehead. My mind began forcing random memories of us together. I can vividly remember the splashing in the bathtub for her bath times before she showered herself. I could still taste her many failed attempts at baking and cooking in general. I could still smell the outdoors from the times in the park, where she was able to spread her wings. There were so many memories that I simply had to shut off my brain so I could keep my focus on Dashie. A single tear ran down her left cheek, and I could see her eyes moving under her lids. Her mind was doing the same thing mine was, forcing our biased memories all at once. For this would be the last time we ever saw one another. Finally, Twilight's horn touched Dashie's forehead. There was a bright light, and when I could see again, they were all gone. All the ponies had disappeared. Through my tears, I sighed in relief. It felt wrong, but it also felt right. She was now the normal Rainbow Dash that belonged in Ponyville. I stood in the living room for several more minutes, just staring blankly at the empty floor that Dashie had been standing in just moments before. Then I looked around the room and took notice of my surroundings. I noticed things were different. Pictures that once held images of me and Dashie no longer hung on the walls. Oh, Luna. Many of the random personal items of hers were scattered around the room, scattered around the living room were all gone as well. I was confused, so I ran up to her bedroom to look. When I opened the door, instead of her NASCAR and air show sports posters, with her bed and other furnishings, was a simple, honest office, a cheap desk with a computer on it, and an ugly-looking potted plant. It took me some time to digest what I was experiencing before I realized what must have happened. It made sense, but still stung in my chest. To make sure nothing happened between worlds, especially it must have removed any existence of Dashie ever being here before, ever being here, being with me. 15 years, all down the drain, as her existence was wiped from the planet. I felt as though all those years were for naught, wasted as I wouldn't be able to remember her, and yet my memories still lingered of her. I could remember everything as if it were still vivid, as if it were still as vivid as when they happened. Then the thought clicked. She did something with her magic when she touched her horn. When she touched me with her horn, did she protect my memories so I would remember her? Had she done the same for Dashie? I walked back downstairs and into the living room while I thought. On the coffee table sat a book. I recognized it. It was my photo album. I sat down on my couch, opened it up to the first page. There was my mother and father with me shortly after I was born. I continued to flip through them, looking at my own past. There were gaps after my parents died, but to keep my mother's dream alive, I had picked it back up, making false pictures of happy times and enjoying my life to stick in her book of memories. Then I opened up to a piece of paper. I'm sorry, every pony. I'm so sorry. I picked it up and immediately recognized the handwriting, or more correct, mouth writing. I speculated this was what she had written down before she left. Dad. Oh. For 15 years you took care of me. For 15 years you loved me, played with me, and made sure I enjoyed my life in a world that was not meant to house me. I'm not a man of many words, but even though I told you this in person, I felt you need a written version of it so you would know it was all real. I love you, Daddy. You helped shape me into the man I am now. I'm not sure what is going to happen, if I will remember any of this or not, but I want you to know that you did a darn good job of raising me, even if I was a bit stubborn at times and short with you during others. With Celestia's permission, I hope to allow you to keep our photos, our memories, so that you will never forget us. Again, I love you. I thank you. Your little daughter always. Your, your little Dashie forever. Rainbow Dash. I set the note back into the page, flattening it with my hand as I felt the dried tear marks littering the paper. I read the note over and over and over again until I had it memorized. Then I turned the page. It was dated with Dashie's silly smile. Oh. Oh. I'm sorry for it was just such a good story. Now I sit here, looking through my photo album of our time together. Her first baths, her first words, her first drawing, even her first preened feather. All in this book of memories. Everything else in the house was gone. Her first drawing ever. Even everything else was gone. But what I had put into this book still remained. I didn't care ever if I didn't dare ever change that either. But I would continue to add to it. To show what those years with her helped not only shape herself, but helped shape me as well. I am a new man from what I was 15 years ago. Changed, given another chance by a sheer miracle of fortune. I can't even finish a sentence. Oh. Changed, given another chance by a sheer miracle of fortunate events that transpired from somewhere I hadn't even speculated. If I had never gone back and checked that box, if I'd done something different than I could have changed everything between us. I guess I'm lucky that it all worked out. I can gladly say I have achieved my parents' only wish, for me to be happy. I am saddened. Though I am saddened, I am still happy for the time I had with her. Oh. We're almost at the end. I now sit alone in this empty house, staring at my mother's window rainbow picture, with a smile plastered on my face. Every time I see it, I think of Dashie. I should be crying. I should feel horrible and want nothing but my daughter back. And yet, I feel relieved to know that everything is alright. She didn't run away or leave on bad terms. She is gone. Home, to where she belongs, and is safe. I look back down at my photo album, turning to the page after our most recent photo. The pages are blank. I still have a lot of life ahead of me, and I plan to make the best of it for myself, for my little Dashie. The end. Oh. Oh. Okay. I'm okay. Oh. Oh. Thank you. Thank you, Ninja Moonshine, for requesting that I read this. Thank you. Thank you for bringing me basically forcing me to read such a beautiful story. And though my cheeks are numb from this, and though I'm crying, don't be sad. Thank you. I needed this. Thank you so much. I love you all. I love every pony, every one of you. I better go before I break my computer with my tears. Good night, every pony. Oh, nightlife out. Oh. No, not quite yet. I still have so much to say. This story is so beautiful. I too wish to become a father someday. And although this is kind of my worst nightmare come true, it's also something I hope to achieve for my son or daughter, or to be happy, to leave on good terms, that I can make them happy. Okay. Now I think I've said everything. Now I'm gonna go before I make an even bigger baby of myself. Oh well. Good night, everybody. Good night. I love you all.